So our production company, which we recently started and hoping to make famous someday, is called Sunrise Production. It's just, right now it just consists of 4 group members, but hopefully maybe in the future we'll get more to join. And today we'll be pitching a short pitch for our short movie that we want to make, which will hopefully be shown in the cinema in the future. Over to you, Chris.
Our film's called Life in Motion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Story of our film. Right, it's a drama film, and it's going to be approximately 5 minutes, of course it's a short film. The story runs through a photo album from the years 1990 to the present day, and it's following all the things a family go through, like prom, graduation, marriage, children. And there's the main setting of the film, you'd start to see this person in like a darkened room going through a photo album, and then you'd see like flashbacks to different periods of time, and the different periods of time would be stylised to that period with different kinds of music as well. So say at 1980 you'd have that VHS colorised effect, and you'd also have like a chart hit from 1980 like in the background to contextualise what we're showing you. So we start in 1980 with a young child filmed in a camcorder style black and white, which we can do on Final Cut Pro. The child is a young boy, so you get the saturated colours, and then he's winning a football tournament, and then that cuts between photos of him doing that and looking at it and seeing the photos. And then it goes to graduating university, 1993, a wedding in 2000, and then there's like a sort of terrorist attack or something that goes wrong in 2005, and then we're going to have like news clippings and crossings to the accident, and then at the end you fear the worst, but there's a nice bit at the end where you realise the person is fine, and there's a shot of a family.
So, character breakdown. We have basically casted the entire family of Amirahs, and we are, to show like development of one character, we've used a range of people, from a baby who is 2 years old, a child who is 8, a teenager who is 16, and then a wife and a husband, both 41. The husband and wife will obviously be part of the section of the wedding pictures and photos. The 2 and the 8-year-old are part of the first 2 sequences with the baby and the child, and the teenager is part of the prom and the graduation photos, and they all go in order as telling the story of one person instead of the family.
The visual and audio breakdown elements are, the lighting will be quite natural and stuff. We've gone over it before, where as the development of the years go on, the saturation of the camera will develop in a way, and the camera movement will be, for example, from the pictures it will pan out towards a reenactment of what actually happened in that photo. With the editing that Haroldas will be doing, it's like the black and white features and different graphics from the photos. The setting will be in my house, which will be when they're sitting on the sofa and the person's reminiscing over different photos. We'll also have another setting where we're in a newsroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the part specifically in the film of 2005, which we are basically remaking stories from the 7 attackings, because we wanted to make something that changed the kind of course of the family's life. And with that, we're going to have an actor that we're going to cast for the news reporter, and that's going to be set in a different place. I've organised a setting in the studio and photography, so that we can make an actual proper newsroom, and then also have effects and edits afterwards, and make it more like a newsroom.
Yeah, the costumes will be like graduation prom suit, graduation hat, and slightly dated baby clothes. The soundtrack, music that was popular out of each time, that's shown in the short. So we've got a whole list of like chart hits from every time period we're going to use. So we're going to try and select clips of music and edit it in GarageBand so it's royalty free. So you can have that in the background to sort of contextualise what we're showing, along with the stylistic element of how we're going to edit it, and the effects. We're going to have like the baby noises and the cheers for graduation, which is in the Final Cut Pro library.
Also to say, just before that, that in terms of script, except for the news report, because we do have a script for the news report, obviously, most of it will not have speaking as the same as the previous film that was pitched, because it's more like contextualised with the music and some like baby noises or cheers of graduation.
More about life,
Yeah.
less words is more.
We chose this idea because we like the idea of the film within a film or a photo coming to life in a kind of idea. I think this would be a good project because there was a lot of skills that we can use to make the film cleverly done. The skills we plan to use and develop making this film are the shots, panning shots, and side continuous format styles. The editing is, as said, important as well because we've chosen to experiment with different colour palettes and music to set the scene for a particular year that we're shooting in. So obviously that shows the different skills that we're all going to be putting in to make the film as good as possible.
Props. Well, the props we're going to need, so far we decided we're going to need a full album, and then we're going to have photos which we're actually going to print off and put into the full album, which we'll be using a graduation cap or a hat and a costume.
We've already got.
Which we already have, which will represent the graduation scene. That's interesting. News clipping, which will either try to find on the internet if there's something similar to what our incident is going to be, or if we don't manage to find it, then we'll just make something on Photoshop.
Which we can print out in the album.
The news clipping is meant to be of the loss or the situation that happened, for example, an accident, and the person that's been injured, to show some sort of feeling towards the person.
As we mentioned, there's going to in our story, there's going to be like one part where it's going to be an incident. So that's instead of actually filming the incident, or because we don't have the technology and all the settings and everything, we'll just use a news clipping which will represent an incident. Graduation certificate, which goes into the part with the graduation scene, and then teddy bear.
Oh, the teddy bear was to add an effect. So as the gradual years go on, that teddy bear will still be in the corner of the room to add an effect of like, although time has gone on, there's still memories.
Yeah, and also on that, some of the props that we use, the reason why we're using them is to sort of put a deeper understanding in the film. So as time goes on, you recognise some props and you'll realise that they've all been in the room this whole time, and then you see them like appear as the years go on, and you realise that they've always been there in like the present year, 2015.
These are some of the locations that we're going to film. As we mentioned before, it's all going to be based in one house because it's kind of a history of the one person. And our location we chose to be Amirah's house. And well, this is just like some photos that Amirah took for us. That we can just.
And for the news report, we're going to do it in the art department with a white backdrop, and we can edit it and find a cut.
It won't look as professional as this, but we're going to try to.
Sadly, we don't have access to the BBC News studios in Manchester, but we can try our best.
We're going to try to recreate something that's as close as possible to that. Just a quick storyboard. You might not be able to see my
Where's the storyboard? Is it in the
yeah, it's
I can get that up for you if you guys want to see it like in more clearer.
This is when I was drawing the storyboard, I wasn't actually focused straight on the story because these shots we haven't decided which part of the story we could use. I was more focusing on trying to explain like the camera movement and just imagining how it could be filmed. And so basically, in my first shot, it's like the full album. Excuse my drawing, but it's gonna be zooming into the full album, and you can, as it zooms in, you can see like the whole book the photo album, and there's like, you can see all the photos, but then it goes into closer so you can see them in more detail. And the second one was like, for first to second, is going to be like moving down slowly with the photo on one page of the photos. And then it keeps moving until it gets into one photo, and then it stops on that photo, and then it zooms in a bit, so it gets even into more clear detail. And then when it zooms out again, it's not the photo album again, it's going to be like a photo frame standing on either the fireplace or the table. And then in the, like, so it kind of goes back in time to that time period when that photo was taken and just put into the time frame, and then the camera pans to the side, as you can see here. You see those two characters in that photo, but then it pans to the side, and then you can see the two characters in real life, like standing there. Then the camera again, we're going to film the characters. Then more characters come, like congratulating. I chose this to add to the graduation scene when they just got home, like family members, brothers, sisters, just coming graduating them, trying to take photos with them, taking photos. And then it takes that photo, and it's a still photo now. But then again, from that photo that is on the screen, it's going to zoom out again, and then it's going to be back into the photo album. So it's like the last photo in the photo album, and so kind of continuous movements from the photo album, from the still photos into like recreating those memories, and then back into the photo album. So all our stories, as you can see, based on photos, and the photo albums are key prop.
So overall, what we're trying to create is someone looking through a photo album, and then you see those different photos in the album, and then it goes into those individual events, and then it cuts back, and then it will cut back to different photos and different things in the room, as well as various memories.
This is a sample script that I wrote for the news report. I did a bit of research on watching actual news reports from 7/7 and wrote this script that we will use for our casting, and we've already chosen and asked a few people to hopefully audition for us, and then we'll choose them out of those and use them for the real part in the film. I won't read it all out.
Yeah. Basically, you're watching Sky News breaking story. London's entire network has been closed after an explosion at Aldgate underground station in the east of the city. It's now what we're being told by Scotland Yard that it's a major incident, and then we'll cut to like the event, and then you may think it's bad, but after that we'll twist it back to the present day. And how we thought of ending it on a nice note is there's like a nice family photo, and then you see that photo in the album, and then the album will close, and it transitions out, sort of like a closure.
Legal and ethical considerations. We're making a document for the younger children, as obviously you have to ask for parental consent for them to be videotaped, or we've got a camera. That's still a work in process.
We also need consent to film in Amirah's house as well. There'll be two, but we've already filed the letter, and that will be signed quite soon. Unfortunately, we don't have the money to inject into this film at the present time. However, we decided to award £5 for props, and at the moment we have spent £2.50 on the graduation hat. Times are hard, we've got.
Yeah, that we've already bought the graduation hat if you want to see it, have it in my bag.
So thank you very much for listening. I hope you can see our film, The Life in Motion.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Just what happens to time? 5 minutes. Okay, so we might not have time for many questions. Just to run through, thank you. It's a very comprehensive presentation. You did give me a very clear idea of what your film will be about, and I can visualise your film in my mind, so that was really good. And clearly, from you've given lots of detail in your presentation. You clearly thought through lots of the thinking through lots of the practical implications, lots of the technical things that you're going to have to think about. So even if you haven't resolved all those things, you are clearly heading in the right direction, and I felt that was really thorough. What I still felt was a weakness of your presentation, although you spoke extremely well and at length, and I have got a very clear idea of what your film will be. The one thing that was the weakness was your storyboard. And the whole point is that film is a visual medium, and so if you're giving a presentation about film, that's what you want to convey. That's the easiest way to convey it. Now, you apologise about the printing and whatever, but one thing that both groups are going to have to think about is how to present. Even at this stage, it might not be the whole most detailed shot-by-shot storyboard, but some sort of way of presenting your visual ideas, and we're going to do some work on that next week. But that's what I wanted more. That would have absolutely capped that off for me. And the other thing I think for your group and for the first group as well, that when you come back to me next week, I want you to think about is, in your rationale, one thing I want you to tell me is, why are you making this film? What do you want to say? What's the message of the film? What is it saying to people about life or about experience or about, your film? I think both films have got a message. Again, you could have conveyed that, what you're trying to say about your film. That would have come across really well. Budget, we'll talk about again, about how we'll write a budget and work one out. In terms of a presentation, never give out a handout with blank pages on it. Just leave the page out. If you haven't done it, leave it out. But a page and then sort of saying, oh, we haven't done that yet. I would never go and give a presentation to the whole staff or the head and go, oh, I haven't done that bit yet. And just leave it out. You're like flagging up something. Yeah, that's just a professional thing, isn't it? Yeah? And sample script, I've got a blank page, although we did have a sample script there. So those sort of things are kind of really important. Overall with this group, I feel that you have conveyed, and overall you all contributed, you're all on board with this, you all understand what your project is. I am going to award you funding, but will be dependent on you coming back to me with a storyboard and with a more detailed consideration of the legal and ethical issues. So thank you for both groups. You both have very strong ideas. I am certain that I will award funding to the other group, but I do need to see a much clearer pitch of your idea. Well done, guys. Good.